Hi. So I have a piece of lace laid out on my table. Let me show you. And it takes up pretty much all of my table. So I'm gonna try and show you how to do the next part of brioche knit. Now, the last time we just cast on and did the brioche knit stitch, which it gives you a fairly nice fabric, except the edges are just a little bit rough. So I'm going to lay this here. If you want to stop the video and copy this, this is your setup row. And this will give you 3 stitches on each side for a selvage edge. Let me show you what that kind of looks like. It really is pretty. It just kind of makes your selvages look a little bit nicer on both sides. So that's your setup. Go ahead and stop your video and copy that. Let me pull it up just a little bit. And stop your video, go ahead and copy that, and then I'll show you the stitches that we're going to do. Okay, so then these are your selvage edges, and if you want to stop your video and write these down, I'll go ahead and let you do that. Okay, so when we start, and I have some really pretty, this is Cascade 220 yarn. When you start, remember, it's really helpful if you use 2 needles. Now I'm using double points. You can use circulars. With one color brioche, you can use straight needles also. If you're doing double color, 2-color brioche, you can't, because when you get to the end of a row knitting, you have to push them back and start at the same, and then turn them. It's almost like you knit 2 rows at the same time. So you can't do these on single point straights, but you can do on double points or circulars. And again, we're using single color, so even a straight knitting needle would be fine with this. So I'm going to cast on 25 stitches, and to do that I'm going to go, I have 1, that's 2, and I'm using 2 needles because brioche is very stretchy. It needs a stretchy cast on, and if you're doing the long tail like I am, we did in the other video, this will give you a very stretchy cast on. Let me slow down in case you haven't watched the other video. So you make sure that your yarn is between your fingers. You go up through the far end of your thumb, go around the near end of your finger, bring it through, and tighten it up. Let's do that again. I go up, and then I catch this one, and I bring it through. So when you do this, you're making a hole for this one to come through. So let's go ahead and cast on 25 stitches if you want to make a scarf that has some nice selvages. The other video that I did basically just showed you how to do the brioche knit stitch, and we are going to use that same stitch here, except we're going to go ahead and make sure that our selvage is going to make a pretty edge. Otherwise it looks a little messy. It doesn't look as pretty if you just do the brioche knit. So let's see how many we have. We have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, okay, 25. So you want an odd number of stitches cast on, and I did 25 because that makes this size of a scarf. And for a man, this is a nice size scarf. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, it's 5 inches. And what you can see is it's very stretchy, it's very plush, very soft, and it gives a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and put this one over here for now. And And the next thing we want to do is make sure that your working yarn is on your working hand. And I am right-handed, well, I'm left-handed, right-handed, but I knit right-handed. So my yarn is on the right-hand side. My tail, I push to the left. Now you want to hold your stitches as you pull out, and I take the bottom one. It's just, you can take the top one, you can take the bottom one. I'm going to take the bottom one, and I'm going to hold my stitches fairly tight on my needle, just enough so that I can just pull this one needle out. Okay? And then it does. It's very, very stretchy. We're going to do our setup row, which is basically, we just knit the first stitch. We bring the yarn to the front as if we're going to do a brioche stitch, but we're not doing a brioche stitch yet. We're going to tip to tip, we're going to slip the second stitch, and then put your yarn back towards the back. And then we will go ahead and knit that first stitch again. Okay, so those are your 3 selvage edges on this right-hand side. The other thing that I would like to caution you about is make sure that you have a stitch marker that opens up. These are perfect. Some of the metal ones are perfect because we are going to mark our right and wrong sides. We'll do that in just a minute. So let's go ahead, and once we have those first 3 stitches, now notice we didn't brioche knit this one after we past this one. But what we're going to do is we're going to bring our yarn forward again and tip to tip slip, but this time we are going to leave the yarn in the front. We're going to knit the second stitch, which is going to go ahead and give us that double stitch. Do it again. Bring your yarn to the front, slip tip to tip, and then knit the next stitch. And we will do that until we get to the last 4 stitches on our row. So if you want to do that with me, go ahead. If you want to turn this off, that's fine too. But I'm going to go ahead, slip, knit, yarn forward, 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 slip, knit. And again, we're just doing the brioche knit. We're not even working with the purl stitch yet. Slip, yarn forward, slip, and knit. And then that will give me my last 4 stitches. Okay, at my last 4 stitches, I'm going to go ahead and bring this forward. This 4th stitch can leave your yarn in front, but remember your last 3 stitches you do not want to leave your yarn in front. So I am going to knit the next stitch, bring my yarn forward. Now this is a little tricky, and this one I'm just going to slip my yarn, and instead of leaving the yarn in front to knit the next stitch, I move it to the back, and then I knit that stitch. Okay, and there we have our setup row finished. Now, this is what you'll want to keep in front. This is very helpful to me, just to keep this in front of me. Now, I'm turning my yarn so that my working yarn is coming off the right, and I'm going to do a, let's see, I start with the wrong side row after my setup. So we're going to, and you can tell which stitch you need to do because of the little cuff that goes around your yarn. If you have a cuff, that's the one that you slip. If you don't have a cuff, like this one doesn't have a cuff, that's the one you're going to knit. But this one with the cuff, this is your slip stitch. So with your yarn in front, I'm going to go ahead and slip that. Now, remember, keep your first 3 stitches separate. Slip it, but with the first 3 stitches, we're going to go ahead and push that yarn to the back. And then we will just plain knit the second stitch. We will pull our yarn to the front, And because this is one of our 3 stitches, we're just going to slip it and then move our yarn to the back. Now those are the only 3 stitches that once we slip a stitch, we push the yarn to the back. Once we've done that, you're going to notice that we have the 2 connecting yarns for our bark, our brioche knit. So I'm going to knit those 2 together. When you look at this, if we had done it with keeping our yarn in front, this 3rd stitch, being a slip stitch, would have had the yarn over it. But because it's part of our beginning, our 3 selvage edges, we don't want that to have the yarn over. So let's go ahead and pull our yarn to the front, and there's our cuff. We want to slip that one. We're keeping our yarn in front because now we're brioche knitting, and we're going to go ahead and knit the next 2 stitches together. And the next 2 stitches are just where the yarn crosses. Let's go ahead and pull our yarn front. There's our cuff. Let's slip that, and you can see this kind of makes an X. Can you see that? It kind of makes an X. That's the brioche that we knit together. Those are the 2 stitches we knit together. And again, bring your yarn front, slip the next stitch, and with the yarn still in front, we're going to knit the following stitch. Now you can see when we knit it, that becomes a single stitch, and this one becomes a double stitch. Let's watch that. Bring your yarn front, slip, and when we knit the double stitches in the next one, the yarn goes over and creates that one to be the single yarn and this one to be the double. So let's do it again. Pull it forward, slip, knit the 2 stitches. They look like an X almost. Pull your yarn forward, and remember your cuff is the one that you slip. No cuff, but the yarn's cross is the one that you knit. And the big thing with brioche is always remember to bring your yarn forward, especially with a knit stitch. So let's go ahead and finish this row to the last 4 stitches. And we'll discuss what we have to do to make our left hand selvage look proper. Okay, I'm at 3 stitches, which is okay. Now we have a cuff. We want to bring our yarn forward and slip it. But we don't want to keep our yarn in the front because we don't want to turn this into a brioche stitch. We want it to stay a single stitch. So we're going to go ahead and pull our yarn to the back, knit the next stitch in line, pull our yarn front, and slip. Now we have a conundrum. Our yarn is here. All you have to do is pull it around to the front. Okay? Now, turn your yarn. This is where I will go ahead and place, and I don't do it at the bottom. For me, if I put it at the bottom, it confuses me. Okay, it's at the bottom, but is this the front or is this the back? I just go ahead and slip it through one of my knit stitches so that no matter where I am, if I'm on this side, I can see it, but it's not connected to any of these stitches. When I turn it, oh, that tells me that's a right side. So with our right side, the first stitch that we do, and you can see they're different. The right side, our first stitch is a knit. On our wrong side, the first stitch is a slip one with the yarn in front. And this is basically what you need to remember. So let's go ahead. We're on our right side. We're going to knit one. And the other way that you can tell is this first stitch has no cuff. The second stitch has a cuff. So if you see no cuff, you know you're going to knit that. So I'm going to go ahead and knit that. Bring my yarn forward. Now we're doing our first 3 stitches. So with our yarn forward, we slip that stitch, but then we put our yarn to the back. And then we go ahead and knit that 3rd stitch. Now those are our 3 single stitches. They're not brioche, which brioche can be a double stitch. You can tell because it has the X yarn across it. So this one has a cuff. We're going to slip it with the yarn in front, leave the yarn in front, and then take our double yarns and knit. And now we can go ahead and do our brioche knitting to the last. I watch the last 4 stitches because they're a little bit different on the front or on the back. Let's go ahead and slip, knit, yarn forward, slip, knit, yarn forward, slip, knit, yarn forward, slip, knit. And you always, when you're brioching, you always keep your yarn in front. Yarn, slip, because it's considered a yarn over. But you don't have to actually, when you slip your stitch, you don't actually have to yarn over, because once you do your knit stitch, it automatically becomes a yarn over. Okay, let's do one more. Now we have 4 stitches, and on our right side, this is the one you're going to have to watch for. We bring our yarn to the front because that's a cuff. We slip that, and this one will become a yarn over. So we're going to knit the next stitch. The next one, we bring our yarn forward. This is a slip stitch because of our cuff, but we do not leave our yarn in front. We take it to the back, and then we go ahead and knit that last stitch. Okay, so we've done 1 wrong row and 1 right row. So let's do another wrong side. And remember, after your setup, you generally start with the wrong side. So we're on the wrong side. You can tell because our little marker is on the other side. The other way you can tell, again, is if you have a cuff. So with our cuff, we're going to slip, move our yarn between our needles to the back. We're going to knit 1 stitch. Remember, these first 3 stitches are singles, so don't try and brioche them. And then we're going to pull our yarn forward, slip this one. We don't want this to become a double stitch, so we put our yarn back so we have our 3 singles at the beginning at all times. And then we're going to go ahead and brioche. Pull, slip, knit, forward, slip, knit, forward, slip, knit, forward, slip, knit. I'm going to finish this stitch with you, and I'm going to do 1 more right side row, and then I'm going to let you just go ahead and work on your scarf. This will make a very pretty scarf. I'm going to show you my other scarf as soon as I get this row finished, just so you can see how very pretty it is with the 3 selvage edges. Now, the other video that I did without the selvage edges will make a perfectly fine scarf if you just want to go ahead and finish that. But I really like having the selvages. It makes it look a little neater. Now I'm at my last 3 stitches. And that's a slip because it has a cuff. So I bring my yarn forward, I slip that, and then I push my yarn to the back. Because remember, you want these first 3 and last 3 stitches to be single stitches, not a brioche with the yarn over. Bring your yarn to the front, slip it, and then push your yarn to the side. You don't want to bring it over, you want to bring it to the side. Okay, let's finish with the right side, and then I'll show you my other scarf. So this doesn't have a cuff, which means that we are going to knit this one. Pull your yarn forward, slip the second stitch. We want this to be single, not a double, so we bring it between our needles, and we knit this stitch. Bring your yarn forward. Now we're ready to brioche. So we're going to slip, leave your yarn in front, and knit. Bring your yarn in front, slip, knit. Bring your yarn in front, slip, knit. Bring your yarn in front, slip, knit. And when I say bring your yarn in front, you're bringing it between your needles. You're not bringing it this way, you're bringing it between your needles. Slip, knit, front, slip, knit. Bring your yarn in front, slip, knit, bring your yarn in front, slip, knit. And this just gets to be a very nice, it's very almost meditative. So I'm at my last 3 stitches on my right side, my last 4 actually. So I'm going to bring this forward, I'm going to slip this, and this one can be a brioche, it can be over. It's only these last 3 or the first 3 that we want to keep single. Bring your yarn forward, slip it, bring your yarn back, knit it. Okay, so that's basically all there is to the brioche knit. And I'm going to show you again. Oops, I have pins everywhere. This is how far I've gotten, and you can kind of see it just makes a nice little selvage edge for your scarf. So I'm going to go ahead and let you go finish. You can finish this one as a scarf, or you could finish the one without the 3 edge stitches. Either way, it's up to you. You choose how you like to do it. But I'm going to put these 2 videos up together so that you can kind of finish them on your own. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have any questions, just leave me a little mark down at the bottom. Thanks for joining me. I'll talk to you again. Bye-bye.